One of the most important things about a film is the locations where you film it. When you look for locations, it's kind of like casting, and you got a lot of different considerations that you have to make. Mutzmeg is a really good example. We had to have a cabin and a shack.
Because of the confined area of most cabins we located, we just couldn't get all our actors, crew, lights, cameras, everything in there. So the decision was made to build a set because we did have a space that was large enough that we could build an interior set. And what we realized we could do because of the different angles and because still, you know, we had limitations of space, that we actually conceived it as a 360-degree room, 4 walls, but walls that could come away so that we could get our shots in.
The model was designed, and the idea we had behind it is that we'd have pop-out walls. So even though the cabin was small, but unscrewing a couple bolts, we could pull sections of the wall out and stick our camera. The camera could be on the outside peering in.
Now this wall here was actually a log wall that stayed stationary, and there was a little fireplace that we built here, and we actually had fire going in it, but we could remove a section in the back, and the camera was set right here, and in the film you'll see there shoots right through the fireplace.
Look be damned, I'm hungry now!
We built the cabin as the giant's cabin, where the witch is and her daughters, and we found that just by flipping the walls and dressing them differently, the witch's cabin could become Mutzmeg's shack.
Now the building behind me looks like a shack, a tumble-down shack. But actually it's only a set, it's only a facade, a 3-sided building. If you come around behind, I'll show you what I mean. We didn't use this interior for anything except for one shot. We actually put the camera up here near this window, and we photographed Mutzmeg's mother falling down in the cabbage patch from this position.
Don't have her, I've got Tom Shepard left. Yeah. We can have her go with her.
You see Mutzmeg come up to the window and look. She's in the interior of the set we built, but we cut it with this point of view, the perspective of this camera. And by cutting those two scenes together, you think they took place in the same time and in the same place.
I like to look at as many different sources for research and references as possible. You read about the way of life, you look at the pictures, and there's a lot of documentation. It sort of becomes a scavenger hunt. It's the same way when you're putting on a play. I remember in high school putting on the plays, and you'd go to all the local businessmen and say, oh, can we borrow this, or we need this for this scene and stuff, and they say, sure, you know, we say, well, put your name in the program if you let us borrow it. And same thing happens with the film.
Soldier Jack, Tom said that he needed a frying pan to hit somebody in the head with. Obviously, he couldn't use an iron frying pan. He had to have one out of cardboard. So Doug Ball and I made this iron frying pan in about 15 minutes. with cardboard and spray paint and some hot glue.
But this is something that we had to come up with, I can think, in 5 minutes, and this is the kind of thing that you'll find on the set. That you can't use a real frying pan because someone will get hurt. So the director will turn to you and say, "We need a fake frying pan, quick." So you get 5 people all of a sudden putting together with gaffer's tape and spray paint and cardboard frying pan. One of the demons comes down a banister and Jack holds up the frying pan and
There's one sound that I did in Mutzmeg that I was pretty proud of. There's a part where the witch hits the giant right in the face with the frying pan. And we used a cardboard frying pan, obviously, because we didn't want to hurt him.
Yeah! You fool!
And that was one of those times where there's, you know, it's like that sound. I got to have that sound in there. That scene just doesn't work without that sound. So I found that I had to create a sound of the witch hitting him in the face with the frying pan. I had to get that frying pan sound. Well, I didn't have a frying pan up here around the studio. So I started looking around the shop, and there's a few old junk cars around outside here on the farm. And I found a Volkswagen hubcap. And I brought it up here, and I hit it with a piece of wood, and it sounded kind of like tink, tink. And I thought, well, that doesn't sound like a frying pan. It's too light sounding. But I recorded it anyway, and I played it back at a slower speed. And when I played it back at a slower speed, it sounded like dung, dung. It sounded just like a frying pan. And that scene in the film, that's a Volkswagen hubcap getting hit with a piece of wood. It's not a frying pan at all.
You fool! You done got the wrong one! You got the wrong one! You got the wrong one!
You don't really notice sound when it's really, really good and the music and the sound are all coordinated in a film. When you notice it is when things aren't working. But it's very, very easy in the heat of a production to forget about the importance of sound and to not keep the soundtrack in mind as you're working. It's important to sit down and think about the soundtrack very carefully.